Holy Spirit, you know how that works. It was just like, I still remember the day when it was just like, at what expense do you need to be comfortable? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Married Millennials podcast.
The podcast for Married Millennials.
I'm Jasmine.
And I'm TJ.
And let's get into it.
Yeah, what are we talking about today?
So we talked about a few different things, but I think we landed on talking about doing uncomfortable things in marriage.
Yep.
How's your week been so far?
My week has been good. I feel like it's been a productive week. I told myself I'm gonna stop saying it's a busy week because busy just it has a negative connotation. So I'd say productive, right?
Yes.
In the week
because
right now.
you can be busy and not be productive.
That's a fact. That's a fact. You could just be doing things
that don't even matter.
Right. So I do feel like in business right now, I'm doing the things that are going to lead to results. So it's been a good week.
Good.
I'm grateful. What about your week?
This was a really rough.
Yeah.
That's a loaded question. It's been a rough week for me, but I feel like I'm excited because I have a long weekend.
Yeah.
And that gives me something to look forward to. Work has just been a little heavy for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like emotionally, I feel like I'm a little off. But
yeah, we're getting back into the grinding phase over the holidays. We're back to it every single day. So this is probably the first full week that we've had. So I felt a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
And trying to establish new habits and things like that. So.
But the highlight of my week was Tuesday. So Tuesday we started playing in a volleyball league.
Oh.
And I did play volleyball when I was in high school. I played travel club ball, so I was really excited. I play a little bit with like the teams at our church, but not like in a game setting.
Yeah.
And so that was actually really, really fun. I miss playing volleyball, and so that was a really good outlet. That was definitely the highlight of my week. And then you're on the team.
Yeah. So I didn't play volleyball at all. So this is kind of how we got on the topic. It was because willing to do things that I wouldn't normally do in marriage, right, and vice versa. So it was really fun, and it was actually a lot better than what I was thinking. I was, low-key trying to find a way out of having to show up to the first game. I wanted to kind of support, but I knew that my wife would be more likely to go forward with it if I was on board and I was on the team, right?
Yeah.
So it actually came up because one of the things that I started doing probably a couple of years ago was playing basketball, because I played basketball and stuff in college and all of that. And you're real supportive, making sure that I play basketball once or twice a week. And you brought up the subject of volleyball. I think maybe somebody was talking about it or something like that, and I encouraged you to try it, and then you started looking into it, and it kind of just
it kind of just happened. But then I was like, oh no, I need people to be on my team. Will you be on my team? And I kind of like bullied you into being on the team, but you really liked it, and so
I did.
It was good, and I think a lot of times
I was dunking on them.
We don't dunk in volleyball, but yes, you had some good spikes. I think a lot of times in marriage, like, you and your partner can have separate hobbies, and that's totally fine. But I do think it's good to try new things together, especially, like, I've never played rec volleyball. I've only played on a competitive level.
Right.
You've never played volleyball really at all, except for like when we go on vacation. So it's definitely a different season in our marriage for that. Like, the last few years have been extremely busy, and we haven't really scheduled fun for just like the two of us, so we haven't had an opportunity for both of us to be out of the house at the same time doing something together.
Right.
So I think it's more of it's fun, but it's also a bonding time for us, because we don't really get activities like the two of us can do unless we're going on a date,
right.
But that's like on a Tuesday night. It's nice to just be able to get out of the house together and to do a new activity that both of us are kind of like.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I love the challenge of it, and I told you, like, I remember a couple of years ago, and this could be a whole nother podcast. We were talking about like finding your passion, right? And you're like, I don't know what my passion is. I've never necessarily been passionate about something, but I don't know if it's a passion, but I did see the way that you lit up on the court, and seeing how much you enjoyed being out there was cool for me to see and kind of watch in the background. I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't understand. I knew that you played volleyball, but I didn't understand the love that you had for it until we got out there. So that was pretty cool to see.
Oh, that's very nice of you. Yeah. And I don't even know if I'm passionate about volleyball. I just have a really, really good time. That is like
that's my definition of passion. I mean,
it's really fun.
Yeah.
Like, and I like that I don't have to be serious. I don't have to use my brain. Like, I just get to go out there and have a good time. I mean, obviously I want to win too.
Yeah.
But I feel like everything else in my life is so like cut and dry and so it's nice to have something that's just like easygoing. It's light, it's fun, and so I think that's more the excitement. And then I'm okay.
No, you're pretty good. You're being humble. She's nice. She's nice.
So it's fun. So I think that's more about that. But it's nice to see each other in, like, I see you play basketball. I've seen you play basketball a lot, but you haven't really seen me play volleyball. So it's like stepping a little bit into my world and doing something new with me. And I feel like by the end of the season, like, we're gonna have really good memories from this new venture. So I'm excited. I think getting out of your comfort zone in marriage, I feel like I'm always the one asking you to take a step out on faith and can you do this with me? Things that you might not have necessarily done, but a little bit of it has offered you exposure to things that you would have never tried if it wasn't for me.
I think that exactly what you said, the exposure piece and the willingness to try different things, because of how my personality is, I'm not going to step out there and probably try stuff that I'm not accustomed to by myself, right? But if I get the invitation to do something, I'll be like, okay, why not? Because I'm so easygoing type of thing, and especially when it's with my wife, because when family's involved, it combines a couple of different things for me, the relationship piece, and then something like volleyball, now it's also a workout type of thing. So I like the fact that I don't want to be the person that knocks anything that I haven't tried yet, right? I'm not the person saying I'll never do that, or I'll never hop on that plane or go to that place or do this type of thing. I want to be able to say, okay, I tried it, it wasn't really my thing. That's why I'm not doing it, not just because I think that I won't enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think having a spouse that is willing to do things for you, it also shows their appreciation for you. Just like, hey, like, yes, that's not what I'm used to doing. Yes, like, you're used to playing basketball on Tuesday nights, but it's like, it's a little bit of sacrifice on your end that I really appreciate you taking the time out of your, that is your time. Tuesday nights are we kind of do our own thing, but now we're doing something together. And so it's kind of that sacrifice that I also appreciate. Just like, hey, thank you for being like, hey, you know what? I can step away from basketball for a little bit to try something new with you. So I appreciate that. And I think I don't want to sound like I'm always the one asking you to make the shifts or the not sacrifices, but hey, can you try this? But I feel like I do ask that a lot.
You do, but it's different, right? So I would say that you make a lot of adjustments in the things that aren't necessarily, let's say, like tangible, or that we're not going out and doing, right? The activities, you do a lot more activities and a little bit more adventurous than I am. So that makes sense. There's not too many things that I'm doing like you either haven't done before or you haven't been exposed to. But when it comes to our relationship, I do feel like that you have adjusted a lot over the years, right? Because it's been a lot of different seasons, a lot of up and downs with me personally. And I got to a place where I was learning myself and actually opening it up emotionally and telling you different things that I prefer out of you, and you've been able to adjust. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the things that comes to mind is just me maybe not being affectionate. I am not a overly affectionate, like, let's hug and kumbaya type of person. And I think that's just that goes to how I grew up a little bit. I wasn't like, not I'm not saying like I was neglected as a child, let's be clear. I'm just saying I don't recall feeling like I didn't have a lot of physical touch growing up. And so that's not really something that I'm just not good at it. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm not good at it. I'm not accustomed to being, touch.
Right.
But that's your love language. And so over the years, I've had to kind of do the uncomfortable thing. What feels uncomfortable for me, for whatever reason, I've had to be like, okay, like this is not about you being comfortable. It's about you being like, okay, that is not only is that something that you like, but that's your love language.
Right.
And so making sure that I'm like, just because it's not comfortable for me doesn't mean that I just don't speak to you in that love language. And it's not like, I'm not saying it like it's a sacrifice. It's just something that I've had to be aware of. I've become aware of over the years that, it's not okay for me to just be like, well, I didn't grow up being, exposed to physical touch and in a love language, so that's just how I am, and I'm not going to change. Like, I feel like a part of marriage is
a big part of marriage.
A huge part of marriage is growing in that area and being like, and I saw something and it was just like, what happened to you as a child? What happened to you as a child? It's your responsibility to dictate how you, go forward from there. And that's 100% true. Like, and I'm not traumatized from it, you know what I mean? But it's just like, it's something new to me.
Yeah.
And now I'm married, I have a spouse, and I have kids. And it's like, I can't just be like, well, I didn't experience that, so no one's going to experience that. So I feel like it's something that I actively have worked on in the past year.
And gotten better at it.
And gotten better at it. It's still, sometimes.
Work in progress.
I like tense up a little bit, like, why are you touching me? But it's, it's a work in progress.
I would say it's not like good or bad, right?
Yeah.
It's just the awareness piece of it,
Yeah.
and we're aware of how each other grew up and why we're made up a certain way or why we're accustomed to certain things, right? Sorry, that's our family train going by. So I think the biggest piece to it is just being aware and noticing those type of things, because if I can't communicate to you that is what I'm accustomed to. And see, I was on the completely other side of the spectrum where in my household, mom was overly affectionate, right? Love my mom, but that is why I'm the way that I am, right?
Yeah. And it's not to say that you can't change. Like, I don't, not that I need you to change in it, but you can't expect me to have that same level of affection that you felt your entire childhood. I don't think that's a reasonable, and I don't think you're asking me to do that. I'm just saying it's not 100% my way or the 100%. It's just kind of meeting each other in the middle and figuring out what works for us, which might not be comfortable all the time, but it's not about being comfortable. And so I feel like that's not a big thing, but it has, been one of the things that I've really had to be intentional with.
Now, I can name a lot of different things like that you've adjusted to or gotten out of your comfort zone, right? And how you're made up. You've extended a lot of grace over the last couple of years, been patient with my personal development, right? So for the listeners, hopped into entrepreneurship a couple of years ago. And one thing about entrepreneurship, it exposes you and exposes those areas that you're not so strong in. And my wife has been very, very supportive in the journey, right? But it's been a lot of self-work that I've had to do over time. So there's been a number of things that you've changed maybe about how you would have reacted in the past.
Yeah, so the one thing I think about off the top of my head is just with entrepreneurship, obviously, there's no guarantee every 2 weeks I'm getting paid this amount. And for me, I grew up being like, I was told like, hey, you need to have stability, you need to know exactly how much money you're making. And so that for me at first was just like, I don't know about that. Like, I need to see some numbers. I need it to make sense. And it's uncomfortable for me. And I forget the exact word that came to me in Holy Spirit, you know how that works. It was just like, I still remember the day when it was just like, at what expense do you need to be comfortable? And before you left corporate, I feel like there was a lot going on in our marriage emotionally.
Yeah.
I was pregnant, and so it just didn't. None of it made sense. But it doesn't have to make sense for me if that's what the Holy Spirit said. At what expense is being comfortable worth to you?
Right.
And I took that personal because it was just like, okay, at this point, this isn't about TJ. This is just about me and what I want to feel comfortable and what I need to feel comfortable and experience stability. But it was just like, you also had to be considered in that.
Yeah.
And I feel like at first I didn't really take the time to consider maybe the weight that you were feeling and everything that you were going through. It was more so me. And what am I going to do? And oh my gosh, my life is going to change. And so definitely that perspective of being like, wait a minute, like this just doesn't only concern me. It's not about what I need to feel comfortable. So that was a big thing too.
Yeah, that's one thing I tell people all the time. Like the thing that I love about our marriage is when we do have certain conversations. Like we can both go into a conversation, maybe it's an argument or something that comes up in marriage, and we can have our different perspectives on it. But once we have the discussion, once we hear the other person's point of view, we're both willing to take a different perspective or see it from the other person's shoes. Right? It goes back to what do people say? Do you want to be right or do you want it to work?
Yeah.
Right? And we're both willing to do anything to make it work, and that really shows up in our marriage, right? So
yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I think that is really good. And the word that comes to mind in all of this that we're discussing is just selflessness and getting away from selfishness.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So thinking about your spouse all the time and these different things, you have to have your spouse in mind in order to make these adjustments. It's really hard if you're thinking me first.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was thinking to myself when you were saying those type of things, like, because I'm the type, if I know that my wife isn't good with it, I never would have left corporate. I just would have been miserable. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly believe that is why the Holy Spirit told me I had to tell you that, because in Jasmine's flesh, I was like, baby.
Say that don't work for me. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what to tell you, but we're going to have to find a new job or something.
Yeah.
And, it didn't work out that way, and that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes you just have to relinquish that control. A lot of times you have to relinquish that control that you think you have and be obedient. So in my obedience, I came to the agreement that, okay, maybe you do need to separate from corporate. And that was a life-changing decision.
Yeah.
And
life-changing.
You don't think that
changed? You say it's changed our lives?
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't think life-changing. That's so like
life-altering.
It was a big adjustment.
It was a big adjustment.
Definitely a big adjustment. But I mean, God definitely made a way. I mean, we've been straight.
Yeah, we have been.
We've been.
We
straight.
have been.
Lord.
For me, I feel like it's just not what I was accustomed to.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for that.
Yeah,
I appreciate
that's what
you
I
for
mean. That was life changing. I'm not.
Okay, life changing. We'll go with that. It was life changing, but the whole reason behind it too that hasn't been brought up in the conversation. The reason that we wanted to do it is because we both have aspirations of where we want to be. Right, so it's not just it's not an attitude of I just don't want to work for anybody. That's never been the case. I'm not too proud to go and get a job. Right, that's not my thing. It's more so that I want to build something with a purpose that can also provide my family the life that we want to live down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the long game, but yeah.
I'm tracking. Let me know, what is something that you've done in your marriage that, or if you don't want to talk about that,
that was
too.
uncomfortable.
But what was that was uncomfortable? What he just said. I'm tripping over my words, but yes. Let us know If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, then let us know too. In the meantime,
let me know if life changing was the right word there. Let me know what you think.
Definitely was. Yeah. But yeah, we will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching,
All right, peace.
listening.